One thing I can say with this movie is I had no idea how many songs out there had moon in them. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
We are finally done with Thorgiween. You'll understand what that was about when we get to the end of this review. Yes, this is it. This is the finale to the post-Shriek Out reaction for 2020. I just want to say thank you guys to everybody out there who's been sticking around for all these reviews that we've been doing all month long. We have now reviewed 31 days of horror movies, including 2 horror TV shows that we threw in over the past 2 days. I'm spent. I am done. But this is the finale to not just Thorgiween, but also to Werewolf Week, all in honor of the full moon that is happening tonight. Something that only comes around once every 19 years on Halloween. So, we are going out with one of the most famous werewolf films of all time, An American Werewolf in London. And have you seen this before?
No, I haven't.
Really now? Okay, this will be interesting.
I definitely heard about this movie. I just never got around to watching it. That's
yeah, it's big. I have not seen this since I was like 13 years old. And there is so many things I forgot about this. And there were many times watching this that I actually had to stop and go, is this like a special edition of this? Because I don't remember the Nazi werewolves attacking. I don't remember that part when I saw this originally. So I'm wondering if maybe I saw like a heavily edited version of this. Because I didn't see it on TV or anything. I saw it on a VHS tape that we rented from Access Hollywood. Not Access Hollywood, Hollywood Videos, that's it. Yes, the superior Blockbuster. Yeah, I remember watching it on VHS tape that we rented from that, and there's so many things watching it this time that I did not remember, so I am wondering if I saw like an edited version or if I just blanked parts of this out. But I will say, when I saw this originally, I did like it. I did like it, but I think I appreciate it more now as an adult, which has been the theme this entire week. This has been the theme, because yeah, we talked about the Wolfman. I didn't like that when I was a kid. Now I really enjoy that. Ginger Snaps, we watched that yesterday, and I knew if I had seen that when I was a kid, I would not have appreciated it. Now I love that film. Yeah, because I think that when I was younger, I was more just focused on like, all right, where's all the werewolf stuff in here? That's the interesting things. Here, I just love the charisma of everyone in here. This is one of the most charismatic cast of any film we've seen all month long. This thing starts off with these 2 guys. They're backpacking across Europe.
Yeah, they're Americans backpacking across Europe.
Yep. So. And you get the sense that they're like, around college years, something like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. There's a lot of people back from around the early 80s, late 70s when this film came out, because their fashion sense stuck with them throughout their entire lives, we're used to associating that with people older than us. So I did keep looking at these guys and their haircuts and just be like, yeah, these guys are like 40, right? But no, they're like 22 or something. But yeah, and you see the way that they're interacting, and one of them is clearly meant to be like the straight man, one is meant to be the jokey one, but the jokey one is not like overbearingly, annoyingly jokey. He is like a charming, charismatic, jokey guy, and I kept looking at it going, yeah, I can see that guy being your best friend. I could absolutely see that being the guy that you wanted to backpack across Europe with. And the other guy, yeah, he is the straight man, but he's not just like incredibly boring, bland. Like, he's kind of jokey as well. And they have this really good rapport with each other. And because of that, you can absolutely buy these guys are very close friends. I just thought it was great how they were able to make you buy that so quickly. But they end up stopping at this pub, which, do you remember the name of the pub?
The Slaughtered Lamb.
That was what it was. I was like, oh, wow, that is on the nose. Wow. It is almost shocking to me that that was allowed to be, like, in the script and that no one went, for real, man? Really? All right, fine.
And like the sign had a wolf head on it, so it's like, wow, very heavy with symbolism, huh?
By the way, I should go ahead and point out this film. I'm talking about the great chemistry between these characters and between everyone in here. The film was directed by, I think, John Landis, I believe, who was the director behind Animal House. And you can tell once you know that by watching this, this is a guy who is like adept at handling. Wait, no, not adept. This is a guy who specializes in ensemble comedy teams. This is a guy who knows how to balance numerous characters and make them play off each other. And you can absolutely see that in here. In fact, I was looking up posters for this thing to make the title card, and one of the title cards and one of the posters said, from the director of Animal House comes a brand new type of animal. And like, wow, the moment that they were making that poster and that thought popped in their head, they just went, oh, like they just put their pencils down and walked out and was like, nope, I'm done for the day. My job is over. I got this, yeah. I don't need to add anything else to this. But yeah, and they go into this place, and this is maybe one of my favorite settings I have ever seen in a film. Because this feels like, speaking from someone who has gone to various pubs in the United Kingdoms, granted not when I was old enough to drink, but I still have the memory of doing it when I was younger. Yeah, this is very accurate. This is a very accurate setting. Again, we're just talking about how this director knows how to handle chemistry between people. This is a room full of unnamed characters. And still, like, you listen to them talk, and you're like, these are people who hang out every single night of their lives and have been doing it for years. Like, they all know, it's like, there's the one guy who's throwing darts, and he says, you made me miss, I never miss. And it's just like, this motherfucker has been playing that dart game for hours every single night of his life. Like, you just get that feeling.
But, like, I also like how, like later on in the movie, like, they're flipping through the channels and they see, like, a dart competition. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I bet he's trying to practice for that.
I got that feeling too.
Yeah.
Man, that was so smart. I just got that feel. Yeah, exactly. Like, I got that feeling from watching that, and they don't stop. They don't, like, turn to the audience and say, like, this is what that guy was clearly doing. No, it's like, they trust that the audience is smart enough to make some kind of a connection between those guys. It's like, okay, all right. In fact, I wouldn't even be shocked if, like, the guy that they were watching on TV was him, because they did kind of look similar. But yeah, I was definitely like some kind of a connection. Like, this is a sport that everyone around this area is like, is a big thing going on. Yeah.
Mostly because there's not much else going on in the country.
I was amazed that, okay, they end up getting attacked by a werewolf, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we know that. That's obvious.
You know that's going to happen, but they are so far out in the middle of nowhere. I was like, how in God's name did you wake up in a hospital in London, like in the middle of the sea? You were so far away from anything. But I could totally, like, it's probably like, it's one of those things where it's probably like a half-hour drive or something. It's like, yeah, it's understandable. Plus, also, again, I've traveled through the United Kingdoms. There are large stretches of nothing out there. So if you needed a hospital, I could totally understand. It's like, none exist around here. Just, no, sorry.
Honestly, it's like it's like the equivalent of walking through like the Midwest in America, honestly.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's just, you know, with no hills in America, yeah. Just you take the Midwest of America, put a bunch of hills on, bam, you got yourself the United Kingdom.
Replace the sheep with cows.
Yes. 100%. Man, I remember when I was going to the United Kingdom. There'd be times we just have to stop and sit there on the road because there'd just be a bunch of sheep just slowly moving by. It's like yes, technically they are on a farm, but they basically run this thing themselves. So yeah, enough geography. But yeah, so I love that setting, and I love that it feels so like just a normal pub. It feels so realistic. Except there's also an upside down pentagram and two like really old candles just sitting over there. And I love that you can tell it's been there for so long. No one in this place thinks of it as weird, but to us, the people who just entered, it sticks out like such a sore thumb. And I love the way that everybody in there just treats them as outsiders, but not in this like, oh, you're not from around here, but just in like, you don't know the secret that we know kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. Like, stay on the road, avoid the moors.
Which they keep telling, man, it's a horror movie, so you know your protagonist has to not pay attention to the rule that everybody told them to pay attention to.
I like how they accidentally wandered off into the moors because it was raining so hard that they couldn't even see the road. Like,
and you talk about giving everybody in here characters, it then cuts back to the people inside the pub, and they're like, it's raining out there. Those boys, they're not going to make it. It's like, no, the rain, they might be fine because of the rain. And you can tell, yeah, they sent them out. They told them to get the hell out of there. but they're not monsters.
No, they
they're
do
humans,
feel-
and they do kind of like have to sit there and just be like, did we kind of send those guys to their death?
It's like they feel bad, but at the same time, they don't want to risk their lives either.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. I really enjoyed how they were able to capture, like, yeah, these are guys that's like, no. These guys, they don't know the secret. They're not allowed to be out around here. They got to get out here. And we told them to stick to the road. We told them to stick to the roads, but they're human beings and they don't want to see just strangers die. Yeah, I like that conversation. That whole sequence is great. But now they end up getting attacked by wolves. The people from town, they end up showing up. They end up shooting the wolf, and it turns out it was just a human. And then they wake up, and our protagonist's friend was killed by the wolf.
yeah, Jack, that was his name. Jack was the one who died, and David was the one who survived.
Thank you. I was actually, you know what the weird thing is? I had Jack and David. I had them swapped.
Yeah.
So thank you. I was like, that's why I did not say their names. I was like, I think I'm getting this wrong.
Yeah, it's like, it feels like Jack would be like a protagonist name in like Who Survives in a Werewolf movie, but it's actually...
You don't know comics, but someone in the comments is barking up right now. In Marvel Comics, they have a character called the Werewolf by Night. His name is Jack. In fact, his name is Jack Russell. I'm not kidding. Yeah, not even kidding. So it's like, oh, guys, yeah, it really feels like Jack is the name of the guy who would survive the werewolf. There, Jack.
No, it was David.
David, which I like that because Jack isn't, no offense to Jacks or Davids out there, but Jack is a much harder name. Like, it's got the really hard J sound and the really hard K at the end of it, so it's like more of a forceful name, so you kind of think of it as more of like the action-y adventure guy name, like it's the name that you would give like a pulp hero back in one of those old comics. David is a very good, like, upstanding citizen name. Like a very respectful, like, I'm the guy who obeys the rules kind of name. And that makes it so much better that he's David. Jack was the jokey one, David was the straight man. David's the one who doesn't really want anything bad to happen. He's the one who's gonna make bad things happen, because he's the one who's now infected with the werewolf thing. But yeah, so there's a lot of things in here that it's standard werewolf stuff. The one thing in here though that is not standard werewolf things is that anyone who has been killed by a werewolf, their ghost can still be seen by other werewolves, and they are forced to forever just roam the earth,
Yeah.
just as decaying spirits until the werewolf dies.
Yeah.
And this is something that I love about this. It's one of the things that makes this film unique. But one of my small problems is that when Jack shows up, and I love that Jack keeps slowly decaying as the film goes on. I thought that was great. But the first time that he shows up, he's just like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And I like that he's still like, because he was the jokey one, and they were friends, it does make sense they would be that way. But he's like, yeah, so you gotta kill yourself. And it feels to me like, shouldn't you try and break that to your friend a little bit better? That is the one thing that made me look at this and be like, yeah, if I was David, I would not believe any of this was real. Because he's just so like, yeah, so anyway, kill yourself. Yeah, you know,
But then again, it might just be part of his personality.
Maybe, but he's just, it feels like, towards the end of this, there's a scene in which you see him again, and you see other spirits in there, we'll talk about that sequence. That's one of the best sequences in this entire thing. But you see them, and they're all like, you have to kill yourself, And Jack is turning and going, guys, come on, he's still my friend, come on, I gotta make sure I look out for him a little bit. So, at that moment, I look at it and go, I totally buy Jack, his friend, now part of this conversation. I totally get that. In the beginning, I feel like he was even more forceful about the thing, and I kind of wish that they had, like, he had been nicer about the situation.
Like, eased into it.
Eased into it, exactly.
Fair enough.
And that's just what I'm saying. Ease into the thing. Like, maybe, like, the second time we see him, like, so have you killed yourself yet? Like, something like that. Like, then he could be a little bit more joking about it. But the first time I was like, okay, man, I gotta break, okay. It's gonna sound crazy, but I gotta break this down for you. And I know this is a tough thing to tell you, but you gotta do this. Something like that.
Oh, by the way, the werewolf Nazis you mentioned before, that was part of a dream sequence
Yes.
that David had, so...
Which is why I think it might have been cut out of the version that I watched. But yeah, that sequence is nuts.
Yeah. It felt really out of place.
It does.
Especially compared to, like, the other dreams he's had, like, where he was, like, running naked through the woods. It's like, that makes sense, because that's what wolves do, so...
Yeah, exactly. Which, in all fairness, I will say this. They do mention that he's Jewish.
Yeah.
So they're trying to, like, paint this picture of, like, his family being attacked by this thing that he's worried about, the people around him being attacked by this thing that he's worried about. So I do kind of like, looking at it like that, I do like that they tried to like merge, like, you know, because we got things that was late in like the 1970s, like, yeah, of course, like, that thought would still be very firmly implanted within his mind. I do like that they merged, like, the fears that he might have about a whole other group with the thing that's currently inside him, like 2 nightmares merging into one. I do actually like that they did that. I thought that was great. But, you're right, just the tone of those dreams feels so different from the other things, like, you see him just like running through the woods naked, you see him just attacking and eating a deer raw. Those are the dreams he's having in the build of this. Yeah, there's some other ways that you could have like painted like the picture of like the wolf attacking people and had it be different than just what they end up doing. Because they just, even though I do like the whole 2 nightmares merging thing, it just, the tone of it feels so different from the rest of this movie. I will say another thing that I really love about this is the relationship between him and the nurse. That's another one of those things that they don't know each other for long, but they like instantly like they fall in love quick.
It's like love at first sight almost.
It is
like,
basically love at first sight. And the thing is, you don't really question it because, as I said, everyone in here has such good chemistry with each other that you instantly buy it. You instantly buy it. It's like, I'm not even going to question that these two would fall in love that quickly because we've seen how they interact. Their interactions are great. Like, they just click like that.
Also, they don't really get like a sense of like how long he's been in the hospital for.
A month. You do,
yeah,
actually.
Just a month.
But
because of the full moon and all that.
That's exactly it, yeah. But he's probably been in like a coma for a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So you don't, even though you know he's been there for a month, you don't know how long he's interacted with this.
Yeah.
Nurse. That's what we're trying to say, yeah.
Yeah, so like, you get that it's easier for you to comprehend that they were in a relationship better.
Exactly. They probably like built this up over the course of a long period of time. Now, I will say, this is a pretty bold werewolf film because it's an hour and a half long. The werewolf transformation does not come until the last half hour. Like, it is not until the 3rd act of this film that we... sorry. I've been talking for too long. I got the burps. It is not until the 3rd act of this film that we actually see the transformation take place. And I think that was really bold of them, because in any other film, I would have looked at this and would be like, yeah, you need to kind of like lean into this a little bit more. Like, Ginger Snaps, the transformation doesn't happen until the very end, but it's a slow transformation.
Yeah.
It's like slowly building, and that's part of the tension of that. But with almost any other werewolf film, like, you kind of want to sit there and like watch it like slowly develop. You want to watch how this happens. With this one, you don't really get a lot of like that slow development. You get a lot of the mystery developing. Like, I love that moment when the doctor actually goes, you know what, I've been hearing his story for so long, and even though the police have decided that this was a escaped lunatic and that this was just a crazy person, maybe I will go out of my way to go back there to this pub that he was at and try and investigate. Like, so yeah, you get the mystery deepening, and then every now and again you get like a shot of Jack reappearing. So the mystery, like the tension is slowly building, but you don't actually get any kind of signs of the werewolf until then. And the reason why I say that's kind of bold is because then this werewolf film relies on your human characters as humans to carry this film. And it just speaks to the charisma and the chemistry that everyone in this movie has, that it worked.
Yeah, and honestly it reminds me of like Jaws. Like, you don't see the shark that much, but like the human characters, like, they carry the story so well, and they build up the mystery to the monster so much, and it's like, yeah, this is very much the same thing.
That is actually a really good way of comparing this. I actually totally agree with you on that. I would say even more so, because in Jaws you at least occasionally get like a fin in the water or something, or like something like that.
I mean, there were some scenes where you saw like the werewolf actually attack the main characters.
In all fairness, we just mentioned the dream sequences. So I was like, yeah, okay, so they did have like something pop up here every now and then. So yeah, but I think that your comparison is great there. Jaws is a great way of comparing this with the werewolf. And I will say, when you have a build-up that goes on that long, you need to make the actual delivery matter. And holy crap, this, to this day, this is like, what, a 40-year-old film at this point?
Something like that.
To this day, this is one of the best werewolf transformation scenes of all time.
Like, the practical effects in this movie are, like, great.
So good. The practical effects, I honestly wonder, like, there's moments in which you see, like, the Muppets on TV. And I actually, like, I don't know if the Jim Henson Company had anything to do with this, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did. By the way, I remember my first exposure to this film was when I was a kid and I was watching Muppet Babies. There was an episode where Rolf had a dream and it was just American Werewolf in London, except he turned into a human. And it was one of the freakiest things I've ever seen. Like, human Rolf was just weird for my little tiny child brain to comprehend. But yeah, I remember they actually saw like some sequences of like that transformation scene in that episode. At least I believe they did. And it was one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed as a tiny child. But to this, and it always makes me wonder, like, okay, so was Jim Henson involved in this in any way? Or was it just a thing where they're like, hey man, you used us, we get to use you now? Yeah, I think this transformation scene, it is brilliant, and I cannot imagine, like, I'm sure there are tons of, like, behind-the-scenes looks at how all this was done.
Yeah, I've seen, like, some of them, like, when I was, like, the behind-the-scenes and everything, so, like, I saw, like, they did one episode on American Werewolf in London, it's like, oh, that's really cool, I like how they did that, you know?
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like, there are so many times in which you're looking at this going, okay, where does the human end and the prosthetic begin? Mm-hmm. Like, the moment when his snout is coming out, I want to look at that and go, that's all a mask. It has to all be a mask. But the rest of him looks so real behind the snout that you're just like, I don't know, maybe he's like, it's really his face, but he's got like some kind of a mechanical thing pushing out like latex or something. Like, I don't know what they're doing there. Like, the only thing I could look at and actually go, I know how you did that, is there's the moment where he's on the ground and he's looking at his body and you can see he's now got like the wolf legs and his arms all stretched out. I could tell, okay, he's now like, they dug a hole in the ground. I could tell that's what he did. Like his head and like the top part of his body is popping out of the ground like that. That's the only thing that I could look at and go, I know how you did that. But I'm not saying I know how you did that because it looks bad. I'm just saying I know how you did that because I know how that trick works. It looks really damn good at all times in this. Also, the werewolf itself.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see much of it. But that is, I love that this thing, it was not the...
like, it didn't run on two legs.
It was a big-ass dire wolf is what it was. It was a big-ass wolf is what this thing was they created. And I remember when I was a kid and I saw this, I was kind of let down by that because I was like, yeah, I want like the thing on two legs running around, the really big crazy thing. Now as an adult, I'm like, that is a very original take on that, and it is still creepy and scary as hell. I think it is great what they did with that.
Honestly, I think it's like more terrifying when it's on four legs. It's like more animalistic, and you know, four legs are faster than two.
Yeah,
so.
and I mean, there are moments in which it gets loose in London, and again, it feels like this should have been, it feels like in any other film, they would have said, this is the start of your third act. Him on the loose in London, that's the start of the third act, and it's chaos from there on out. I love that that they just decided, no, this is the finale here, when the werewolf is actually in London. Because yeah, there are moments in which you see it like breaking out of places, and it's like ripping in things, and you can tell, like, this thing would just tear through the entire city if it got away. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, yeah, like, being on two legs would be, like, a negative for this thing, because it would be easier to find and shoot. Yeah, this thing, man, you could, if the nurse did not come in at the end, man, it would be, this thing could easily have probably, like, terrorized the city for years. I will say, we kind of dance around this scene, but I do want to mention this. We're talking about the very end of the scene now. This is when we're getting into spoilers if you haven't seen this thing before. I love that his final moment with Jack, when he gets to talk to Jack, it's in a porno theater.
It's like, and I was just thinking back to The Howling, where it's like, it's another like scene where like a werewolf transforms in a porno theater.
Yeah, and these came out at almost the exact same time, so it's not like one ripped the other one off. It's just something that both of them thought at the same time. But yeah, I love that. I love that they go in there. And first thing that I have to point out is the porno that they're watching is hilarious. And you can tell that's not like an actual like porno. That is something that John Landis actually like sat down and go, I'm just gonna make a goof. Mm-hmm. Because the entire porno is just two people in a room and just having sex. And then someone comes in and goes, how could you do this to me? And then the man's like, I'm sorry. And he goes, not you, her. I don't know who you are. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong room. And then leaves and went,
and then they go back to having sex.
I was like, that's one of the best jokes in this entire thing, and it's not technically part of this movie. And then, like, later you see them still watching the porno, and the woman just gets on the phone. Oh, yes? Hello? Okay, great. Thank you. Puts the phone down. And then just starts going back to sex in the same room, and I'm just like, I love that this was apparently like him attempting to make the laziest porno of all time. I love that had to be like what he wanted to create with this thing. It's just such a goofy like behind the scenes thing on.
I do really enjoy the humor in this. It doesn't like go overboard.
Oh no, not at all. It's like perfectly subtle humor. Not even subtle, but subtle in terms of like they never wanted to overshadow everything. Like the night after he first transforms into the wolf and he's trying to get back home butt naked. That entire sequence is hilarious. That is great. But this, I think, is the funniest scene in the entire thing, is when they're at the porno theater and they sees all the people that he killed. They're talking to him, and they're all just throwing out ideas of how he should kill himself. And the only guy there who's actually being serious is the last guy that he killed. And he is like, you made my wife a widow. You made my children fatherless. Just really trying to, like, just drive it home and make him feel like shit about this. But then there's the two party goers who he killed. There's like, oh yes, it's a wonderful thing. Oh, hello, yes, okay. Have you thought about a gun straight to your head? Oh yes, you wouldn't be able to miss that way. Just like they're just so chipper and cheerful, and I loved it.
But then there's like 3 other people he killed, but they like
guys.
They don't give a fuck because they didn't really have a family or anything. But
they just don't like him.
They're just pissed off. It's like, fuck you, you killed us. Like,
yeah, I love there's no emotional attachment on those guys. They just don't like him. Just fuck you. Man, that entire sequence is great. This movie, it's great how it can jump back and forth between so many different emotions. I think this thing, it's a classic for a reason. I know a lot of people are going to go into this and they are probably going to be like, hey, where's the werewolf in this thing? But yeah, I think it's bold that this film, and again, that was one of the things that when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, where's the werewolf in this thing? But I think now as an adult watching it, like, this is pretty bold that they were willing to just hold off on this. And they went, we're just going to let the characters and the mystery of this just carry the film itself.
Yeah, I feel like if the reveal is worth it, then it's absolutely, like,
Yes.
worth the build-up. And the reveal in this is absolutely worth all
It's
the
the
build-up.
thing that this film is most well known for, yeah. Again, as we said, 40 freaking years later, this reveal is still amazing. Yeah, anything else that we want to say about this?
Do you, like, want to talk about the ending, or, like, the final?
Oh yeah. Okay, so story time. When I was a kid, I watched this when I was 13, and I watched it because a friend of mine who was really into horror films, he was like, you have to watch this because it has the most hilarious cut to credits that any film has ever had. And he showed it to me, and sure enough, both of us, like, he laughed his ass off, and I just looked at him like, what the hell is this that's going on right now? And as we were watching this time, I thought, you know what, we were both dumb kids back then. Like, that's probably just us, like, we didn't, like, understand, like, the subtlety of this. Like, we didn't understand how appropriate the song that played, I'm sure it was very appropriate. That was supposed to play. So I'm sure it was just us being dumb kids and what we thought was so funny. And I forgot what the song was. I thought the song was, like, Blue Moon or something that played.
It was, but it was an upbeat remix.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I thought it was like the sad version of Blue Moon.
No, that was in the opening, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was the song, when it played in the opening, I thought, oh, wait, was this the song that played during the credits? Why did I think this was funny? This actually kind of works as the thing that they're going to cut the credits on, because I remember what the final scene was, and then we get to the end, and it's just, Blue Moon. And I just want, and like, you burst out laughing, and I, again, just like when I was 13 years old, just speechless, just like, what? Yeah, that is one of the big, like, again, we talk about how the humor works very well in here. I don't think that was intentional humor, but it is absolutely humor. So that's one of the other, like, small, like, I gotta come in here and give you, like, a little note on that, like, the dream sequences, the tone didn't really match. But you want to talk about the champion of tones not matching in this film. It's that cut to credits.
And, like, here's the thing, like, well, we're spoilers right anyhow. Like, David dies because, like, the police shoot him up. They completely miss Alex the nurse.
Man, this has been the year of the police just being very lucky with, like, in these movies that we've been watching.
Police shooting werewolves that transform into porn
Just
theaters.
blindly. Because, yeah, the same thing happened in The Howling. They shot through a wall without even seeing what they were looking at and shot the werewolf. It's like, are you fucking kidding me with that?
Yeah, like, both, like, Alex and Dave were, like, down, like, a very long, dark alley, and, like, the police just happened to be able to shoot him
And
instead.
she's in front of the werewolf. Like, that's some magic bullet shit.
But it's like, David, like, he was talking about, like, how in werewolf movies, the werewolf has to be killed by someone they love. So I felt like Alex was the one who would have to put him out of his misery.
It was Beauty that killed the beast in a way, yeah.
But yeah, it's like, but then like like he was about to lunge at her, and then the police just shot him down. So it was like, oh, that's kind of anticlimactic. And then suddenly the song is like, oh wow, that's a tonal twist, like anticlimactic and a tonal twist. Like what the fuck is
I don't
all
think
this?
it's necessarily anticlimactic because in a metaphorical sense he is still killed by someone he loves because he came out of hiding to try and kill the person that he loved, and that's how the police were able to shoot him. So in a metaphorical sense, I think he absolutely was killed by something that he loved.
I guess so, yeah.
But there's like he's shot, she looks down, he's there like human form, buck naked, dead on the ground.
With bullet holes.
With bullet holes. And it feels like even if you didn't cut to that hilarious song, it still feels like there needs to be an additional scene after that.
Or at least like a slow
something.
slow-
Like a slow zoom out.
slow truck out. That's the word, truck out.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, that would be great because you could start us by, then pull back through the alleyway, then show like the dozens of people that have crowded around looking at this
yeah,
thing.
like you just like keep like slowly going out until you see like all of London because American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, I mean
But-
they wouldn't have the technology. to
No,
get
but
all
it's
of them,
like as much as
something
they
like
could,
a good city street, like just pull out from there, see all the people crowding around looking in there, then just keep pulling back, and then you start getting in the busy street of London, and then slowly that scene kind of disappears. You just see like other people just going about their lives, just
and then
going, like,
cut to the song. That would have been a lot less jarring for me.
Yeah, something like that. Like, again, I typically tend to like hate coming in here and just being like, well, what you should have done in the movie was this thing. But no, I definitely think that would have been better. And I mean, like, I would have thought about that, but you brought it up and it's like, yeah, you have a really good point. That would have definitely been a better shot to end on. It's, yeah, the ending is great until the last 5 seconds of it. Yeah, that is a big, like, we gotta come in here and talk about that real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, like this is a really good, really fun werewolf movie. Like,
Yeah. And I'm glad that you got to see this for the first time. Yeah, this movie, it is still a classic for a reason. But that's it. Anything else you gotta say?
I don't think so. Just
I think that is it. Yeah, I thank you guys for sticking with us throughout an entire Thorgiween. Coming up later today, we've got the big finale, the top 31 that we always close every single Thorgiween out with. So stay tuned for that. Oh, it's gonna be really stupid, everybody. But yeah, I thank you guys so much for sticking with us. This has been not our busiest Thorgiween. I've definitely had Thorgiweens where I put up more things, but considering the state of the world this year, I think this has been one of the most difficult Thorgiweens. So I want to thank you guys for just sticking with us, just supporting us on this, just being really cool as you normally are. So I just want to say, be safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, not just the Halloween mask, but the one that covers your mouth as well. You know, be smart. If you are going to, if you're going to have trick-or-treaters come around, be smart about how you hand out the candy. If you are a parent and you have kids that really want to go trick-or-treating, be smart about how you do it.
yeah, like I've seen people like have like pre-made trick-or-treat bags that they hand out, so I think that's really smart.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to actually be like trick-or-treaters in our building this year, and if there are, I might try and make some of those for them because, like, yeah, kids should still get something this year.
Yeah.
But parents, don't let your kids eat the candy that night. Like, get some candy for the kids yourself that you know is safe, but like, let any candy that they get from strangers like sit around for a day so that way it's been decontaminated. I'm just throwing out whatever ideas. But yeah, it's one of those things that during these harsh times, I feel like the moment I stop talking, it's like, well, you guys are on your own now, and I hope you can just figure things out. But yeah, thank you guys very much for sticking with us through Thorgiween. And as always, our own little werewolf had to come in here one last time and say bye. All right, happy Halloween.
Bye.
That was a bad intro. That was a bad exit. Sorry. And as always, happy Halloween. Bye. Bye. Do 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 do.